Hi, this is Jody with Poor Boy Wheeling Adventures, coming to you today from underneath the 2010 Range Rover. We've had quite a few questions from people wanting to know what they need to do to check their vehicle to make sure that it is ready to go off-roading. So we'll take a look at some key steering components, suspension components, things you can look at yourself, just to get a visual inspection, make sure everything is looking good under there. So here we go. Okay, we're underneath our 2010 Range Rover. If you take a look, you'll notice that there's some splash shields under the bottom of the vehicle. These are just shields. They are not skid plates. They will not protect the vehicle from hitting any rocks and doing damage further up. So don't get overconfident because you see these plastic shields under here. When you are looking underneath here, check and make sure there's nothing leaking out of any of these holes. If there is, you need to pull those shields down, take a look at them, see where that leak is coming from. So we'll take a look at the suspension here and the steering. If you'll look, the tie rod has a rubber bushing on it, or excuse me, a boot. And this boot, you want to make sure that it's not cracked, torn, damaged in any way. Then you've got on the other side of it, you've got another boot that's considerably larger. So you want to check it out, make sure it's in good shape. If you can, get up in there, take a look, make sure that nothing on your steering rack is leaking. On your control arms, you've got more rubber boots. So check those out, same thing, make sure nothing's leaking on it. You've got two of them on this particular vehicle. So check that out, make sure they're in good shape. Also, your axle, check it. It's got another rubber boot on it. Check it out, make sure it's not leaking. Make sure the boot's in good shape, not cracked, weathered. And then on the other side with the transmission, you'll have another rubber boot. So check that out, and also look up in there. Can't really get my finger on it. Make sure where it goes into the transmission that you don't have any leaks or anything there. Also check all your lines. This is your ABS line. Make sure that it's connected where it's supposed to be. That way it's not dangling down, doesn't take a chance on getting hung up on anything. You also have your brake line over here. It'll go up into its connecting point. Make sure it's all connected, out of the way, no leaking or anything coming from here, and check that out. Then you've got your strut. Take a look at it, make sure it's not leaking, and all the way up at the top you've got an airbag. Watch that airbag, make sure that it's not weathered. If they start weathering and you get into a situation where you're bouncing around or something, it could cause it to pop, and then you're going to drive home sitting funny. So you don't want to do that. And connected to the side of it is the sway bar link. It has a rubber boot on it, so check it, make sure it's not weathered, cracked, damaged. And the same thing with the lower end of it where it connects to the sway bar itself. Okay, so basically just going through looking at the suspension, making sure everything looks good, making sure no boots are worn, and then we'll go back towards the middle of the vehicle. When you get back here, you'll see your drive shaft. So you want to take a look at it, make sure you don't see anything leaking around the drive shaft on it. Check these rubber boots, make sure they're not torn, cracked, damaged anywhere. Then your drive shaft will run back to this end. Same thing, rubber boot on it. Check it out, check for leaks or anything there. Once again, you're going to want to watch your wires. We've got a O2 sensor wire here that runs up, comes down. Make sure it's in all of its connections, everything's up and out of the way. That way you don't take a chance on hanging anything up there, and it comes all the way around to the sensor on this side. So watch all of that, make sure it's in good shape. And then on the back side, you've got another drive shaft. Check and make sure there's no leaks or anything coming out of here. Once again, check your boot, and then we'll go back to the back of the vehicle. When you get to the back, here's where the drive shaft comes to. Make sure that nothing is leaking out of here. Gotta take a look up above the heat shield, see if you see anything going on in there. Typically you won't see anything unless that heat shield's destroyed. Then you'll know you need to take a better look up there. Then you got your rear lower control arm. Always check the bushings in here where it mounts to the body of the vehicle. You can see on this one, you can see the bushing in there. Check it, make sure it's not torn, make sure it's not weathered, cracked, or anything. But if it is, putting too much stress on it could cause it to go ahead and tear loose. So you want to keep an eye on that just to make sure everything's good. On the rear, you've got your shock. So you want to check it, make sure you don't see any fluid leaking around it anywhere. You've got basically an upper control arm here with a boot on it. Make sure it's not cracked. Then you've got your rear axle, same rubber boot as the front axles. Check them, make sure they're good, make sure there's no grease coming out of them, just not cracked, torn. And then on the rear end side of it, same boot. Check it out, make sure it's not cracked, and then check in to make sure that where it goes into the rear end that you don't have any leaks or anything there. And you'll do this on both sides of the vehicle. And on this side you have your rear airbag, so it's sitting here. Once again, check it, make sure it's not damaged, make sure it's not cracked, getting old or anything like that. These are pretty expensive to replace, so you want to make sure you take care of them and check them out. So basically that's what you've got underneath your 2010 Range Rover. You can kind of see everything's pretty much level underneath here. So if you see anything hanging down on yours, probably need to figure out what's going on. Another thing to check are the hangers here for your exhaust. Make sure they're in good shape. You don't want one of those broken and cause your exhaust to hang up on anything when you're out on the trails. So this is the overview of the 2010 Range Rover. Hope this helps out, gives you some things to look at. You can check it home and be watching for more videos of different vehicles.